We all know a DUI arrest is a big deal, right? It's stressful, it's serious, but what if I told you it can go from bad to life-altering felony in the blink of an eye? We're talking consequences that could follow you forever. So how on earth does that happen?
Yeah, that's really the heart of it, isn't it? One minute you're seeing flashing lights in your rear view, thinking it's a routine stop. The next, you're staring down the barrel of state prison time and a bail amount that looks like a typo. How does the legal system jump from A to Z like that?
Well, it's not random, that's for sure. The answer is actually hiding in plain sight, written into a very specific California law. And this law, it's all about your past.
And this is the one right here, Vehicle Code 23550.5A. So let's just break that down, into normal people talk. Basically, if you get a new DUI and, this is the key part, you've had a very specific type of felony DUI conviction within the last 10 years, boom. Prosecutors can now charge this new case as a felony. It all hinges on that 10-year clock and exactly what that prior conviction was.
Okay, and this is super important to understand. It's not just any old felony on your record that flips the switch. Nope. The law is looking for what are called trigger priors. So we're talking about things like a standard DUI or a DUI that caused an injury, but one that was already prosecuted as a felony. Or, something incredibly serious like vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated. The point is, this law isn't casting a wide net. It's laser focused on a very specific pattern of dangerous, felony-level behavior behind the wheel.
All right, so we've got the what. Now let's get to the so what. To really feel the weight of this, let's walk through it. Imagine it's happening. What do those first 24 hours actually look and feel like when you're arrested under this law?
This right here. This is the moment everything changes. The officer pulls you over, maybe takes you to the station. They run your name, and the second that prior felony DUI flashes on their computer screen, everything flips. The whole situation just went from a standard, albeit serious, misdemeanor to a full-blown felony investigation. Just like that.
So from that point on, the steps might look kind of familiar, right? You're arrested, you're taken to get booked, photos, fingerprints, all that stuff. But underneath the surface, the stakes have skyrocketed. And the first place you really feel it is at step 3, when they set the bail. Because this isn't a misdemeanor anymore. The bail amount comes from a whole different and much scarier playbook.
And that brings us to what is, for most people, the first massive shock to the system. We're talking about the bail.
So, in a place like Placer County, for example, they don't just pull a number out of thin air. There's a set schedule for felony bail. And for this exact charge, well, the number is pretty mind-blowing.
$100,000. Just let that sink in. That one number tells you everything you need to know about how seriously the court takes this charge. And at booking, that's not a suggestion. It's the standard price tag. For pretty much any family, that's an instant, full-blown financial crisis. Coming up with that kind of money is next to impossible for most folks.
And as shocking as that number is, believe it or not, the bail is just the tip of the iceberg. If you're convicted, the long-term consequences, they're on a whole other level. It's way more than just the arrest and that initial time in jail. Just look at this comparison. It really lays it all out. A misdemeanor DUI, you're talking about county jail. This felony, you're facing potential state prison. It's not just a license suspension, it's a full-on revocation. And maybe the biggest difference of all, you're no longer just someone with a misdemeanor. You are a convicted felon. And that label, that changes everything for the rest of your life.
And it just keeps piling on. You've got massive fines and fees. The DMV slaps you with the habitual traffic offender label for 3 years straight. And then there's the real-world stuff. The hit to your job, your ability to find housing, the strain on your family. The ripple effects from this are just huge.
Okay, so the stakes are obviously incredibly high. State prison, a felony record, the works. But here's the thing. The fight is far from over once you're out on bail. In fact, what you do after you get out can be just as important as the facts of the case itself. So let's talk about the biggest mistakes people make that can absolutely sink their own ship.
And I really can't stress this enough. Just because you're out of jail doesn't mean the case is on pause. Not at all. The court is watching you like a hawk. Every single condition of your release has to be followed to the letter. It's totally non-negotiable. One slip-up, and your bail can be revoked, and you're right back in a cell.
So what are we talking about? Well, here are the classic blunders. Miss a court date, that's not a oops, my bad situation, that's an automatic warrant for your arrest. Get caught driving on a suspended license, you're just adding new charges and telling the judge you don't care. Violate a no drinking order, bam, bail is gone. And here's a modern one, talking about your case on a recorded jail phone line or even worse on social media. You're literally creating evidence for the prosecution. But really, the single biggest mistake is thinking, it's just another DUI. No, it is not.
Yeah, this quote really hits the nail on the head. Felony cases are just different. They move differently, the courts see you differently, and the penalties are in a whole different universe. Everything is turned up to 11.
So all of this leaves us with a pretty big question, right? When you know that a law like this is out there, with a $100,000 bail and state prison hanging over your head, it really forces you to look at DUIs and repeat offenses in a completely new light. It's a clear line in the sand drawn by the state, showing exactly where a bad decision stops being just a mistake and becomes something that could define the rest of your life.